For anyone staring down the barrel of postgraduate entrance exams, those English reading passages can sometimes feel like trying to decipher an alien language.
Hmm, they really can.
But what if we could, crack the code together? Make even a tough text like Text16 feel a bit more manageable.
That's the plan. Yeah,
So that's exactly what we're aiming for today.
that's right, Text16. It really dives into this fascinating world of robots and, well, the ongoing quest for true artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So think of this deep dive as your personal toolkit, to understand its core ideas, how it's put together, and the essential vocabulary you'll definitely encounter.
Okay, so the article kicks off by reminding us that humans have always been tool makers, basically. It's like tracing our lineage from, I don't know, the simplest hammer all the way to today's robots.
Precisely. Yeah, it frames our drive to build robots as just the latest chapter in this long history of human ingenuity.
Ingenuity.
Cleverness, right? Exactly, our cleverness at problem solving. Then it pretty quickly showcases what robots can actually do now.
And the list is, well, it's pretty impressive. We're talking robots in factories, banks, driving trains, even performing surgery with superhuman precision.
Yeah, think of a surgeon operating with movements smaller than a speck of dust. It shows their real utility, how useful they become.
Okay, usefulness. Got it.
But the article doesn't just stop there, celebrating the achievements. It then pivots to a really crucial point.
Do it, tis.
For robots to become truly autonomous, they need to handle unpredictable situations. The article calls them dynamic environments.
Dynamic,
Yeah.
always changing.
Exactly. Imagine the difference between, say, a robot arm welding the same spot in a factory over and over,
Right, controlled.
and a self-driving car trying to navigate a busy street with pedestrians and other cars.
Completely different ball game. And that's where the NASA quote comes in, isn't it, Dave Lavery?
Yes, exactly. Highlighting the current lack of common sense in robots. We can program a robot for specific known errors, but giving it that human-like gut feeling or intuition, that's a massive challenge.
Right, you can't program for everything unpredictable.
Which takes us neatly into the topic of artificial intelligence itself. The article reminds us of the early optimism.
Optimism, hopefulness.
Yeah, that really hopeful belief back in the 60s and 70s that true AI was, just around the corner.
But it wasn't quite that simple.
No. The reality has been much, much more complex because our brains, with their billions of connections, they're just incredibly intricate.
So the article draws this interesting parallel. Robots are great at finding tiny flaws in controlled settings, like on an assembly line.
Right. But think about our own experience, how easily your eyes can just scan a crowded scene and instantly pick out something important, maybe a familiar face or something that looks out of place, while just filtering out all the irrelevant background noise.
Stuff that doesn't matter at that moment.
Exactly. Current AI systems really struggle with that kind of flexible perception.
Okay, so the core argument boils down to this. We've made amazing progress in robotics, but getting to true AI, the kind with common sense and adaptable perception, that's still a huge leap.
A monumental task, as the article implies. Now, maybe we could look at how the article actually builds this argument, sentence structure and things.
Good idea. Like that first sentence, since the dawn of human ingenuity, people have devised ever more cunning tools, and so on. It's quite long.
It is. But you can break it down. The main point, the core of it, is just people have devised tools. Simple enough.
Okay.
The first part, since the dawn of human ingenuity, just tells us when this started happening.
Right, from the beginning.
And the rest of the sentence, to cope with work that is dangerous, boring, burdensome, that just explains why we devised them and what kind of tools.
Okay, that makes sense. Breaking it down helps. And those little connecting words like and, but, if, they're like signposts.
Perfect analogy. They guide the reader. And adds more information, but shows a contrast or a shift. Really crucial for following the logic.
Okay. And vocabulary. We mentioned ingenuity, precision, utility, dynamic, optimism, perception, irrelevant. Any others that stand out?
Well, compulsion comes up. That's a strong urge. Conferring means granting or giving something.
Yeah.
Miniaturization, making things smaller, obviously important for tech.
Right. And sometimes you see words that seem similar, like cunning and clever, or maybe burdensome and laborious.
Good point. Context is key there.
Yeah.
Also, watch out for expressions like come close, which means almost succeeding but not quite.
Ah, okay.
And mixed results, meaning, a bit of good and a bit of bad, successes and failures together.
Got it. What about common problems students might have reading this?
I think one big hurdle is that abstract idea of common sense in AI. It's hard to grasp because we use it constantly without thinking.
Like knowing not to touch a hot stove.
Exactly. But programming that kind of intuitive knowledge, covering countless everyday situations into a machine, that's incredibly difficult. A robot needs explicit instructions for almost everything.
Unlike us and those long sentences we talked about.
Definitely tricky. The strategy is always break it down, find the main subject and verb first, the core idea, then see how all the other phrases and clauses add detail or conditions.
Find the skeleton first, then add the rest.
You got it. And when you hit unfamiliar words, use the context of the surrounding words to make an educated guess. And, I mean, don't be afraid to use a dictionary. That's what it's for.
Absolutely.
So, in essence, Text16 is really highlighting this contrast. Robots are amazing specialists, great at specific defined tasks, but they lack that broad general understanding and the flexible perceptive abilities that humans just naturally possess. It really underscores how remarkable the human brain is.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for our listeners. Considering this gap the article points out between robot abilities and human intelligence, what might the future of work actually look like?
That's a big question.
And what does this ongoing challenge tell us about the very nature of our own intelligence? Something to mull over maybe until our next deep dive.